Warren Woodward once said about the dollar bill, people spent their whole life seeking to earn it, but won't spend 10 minutes seeking to learn it. Keep this in mind as we discuss today the challenges that the US dollar is facing, as there are indications of the weakening of the US dollar. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou.
And my name is Dr. Ross Stewart.
And you are watching Geopolitics in Conflict.
David, as we've been discussing, the Biden administration is now supporting the $1.9 trillion incentive package to help the American people. What this means is more debt. And we know that countries like Russia and China are watching this very closely, and it weakens the dollar. What do you think the impact of all this is?
Well, that's correct, Russ. The Biden administration just sort of moved forward through the Senate today, as a matter of fact, with the approval of $1.9 trillion without the support of the Republicans. They had to move forward because that's what they promised the American people. While you look at the stimulus itself will assist American families on one hand, but on the other hand, it will create other issues regarding the quantitative easing, in other words, for the printing of money, which does usually, economically speaking, impacts the value of the dollar. And this is where you are noticing now, this didn't just start today with, for example, Russia and China pulling away from using the US dollar.
We've been watching this for months now with great interest.
That's correct. We did a show about it a couple months ago.
Right.
Back then, when we said that China and Russia are in talks of deciding how to dump the US dollar altogether. I remember there were some comments that were very sort of kind of, no, you guys don't know what you're talking about. It's basically whomever commented, which we respect their opinions, it just didn't like to hear the truth. Didn't want to accept the fact that indeed the US dollar is weakening a little bit.
And who can blame them not wanting to know it? But it's important for us to stay informed and know about this.
Well, that's the whole idea of why we're doing the show in the first place. So beside the idea of Russia, which, by the way, Russia holds most of U.S. treasuries, but this is where geopolitics comes in. As we always say, the impact of geopolitics on economics and economics on geopolitics, they go sort of hand in hand. So because of the tensions with Russia regarding following the sanctions that the United States placed on Russia during the Obama administration following Russia's annexation of Crimea, you can just see why Russia now would say, how about if we just get rid of the dollar altogether? And this is the deal that they've been working with China about to reach this particular agreement between the two.
And from what we can tell, it's being highly successful. It's moving forward rapidly, at minimum between the two of them.
Well, interesting enough that there are other entities like the European Union now. The European Union Finance Committee has been addressing the need for consideration of moving away from the dollar. Could this explain why the European Union cut a deal with China regarding the comprehensive agreement on investments? I would say so. The European Union is seeing where things are going. Even for us here in the U.S., the Biden administration now is trying to shift its policy from the Middle East to Asia, because that's where they're seeing the changes, economically speaking, coming up.
Well, what we're seeing is the Federal Reserve is supporting the stock market by having 0% interest on its money. What do you see the impact of that being?
Well, there are some concerns regarding this level of confidence. Usually when you have the Feds by your side, the stock markets will keep going up. But at some point, that confidence is going to cease to exist. So basically, and I'm going to say it the way it is, you'll be looking at another crash that could rival that of 1929 or even 2000. So there is a possibility of that.
Well, what we're seeing is almost unbelievable levels of new printing of money.
Well, yeah, because the United States government's been print. That's one of the advantages the U.S. has. They can print how much money they want. But the problem with that is, what is going to do to the national debt? Well, if we look at it historically speaking, since the beginning of the United States till about 1996, we've generated about $5 trillion in debt. We've generated $5 trillion in debt just in the last year and a half to 2 years. Especially when the pandemic started, the United States government has to print more money to stimulate the economy. Basically, it is the government is the U.S. government that is found itself in a very delicate position
Between a rock and a hard place.
You're absolutely
Exactly.
correct. Yeah, the only way to move this economy forward that they have to stimulate the economy by doing more. Well, doing more, you got the Republicans are opposed to that. Then the Democrats are hesitating to do so. And this is where the state of the economy is raising some eyebrows overseas, which probably what prompts certain countries to start reconsidering the investments in the U.S. or even the value of the U.S. dollar for that matter.
Well, at this moment, it looks like this $1.9 trillion is going to go through. And we're going to see this approximately $5 trillion of new debt. What do you see the immediate impact on the American people being?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. This stimulus checks that's going to be coming up, or the stimulus package rather, had some, for example, assistance to the states, more assistance for unemployment, and of course, it includes the $1,400 that President Biden has promised. On the other hand, you think realistically, what will $400 do to a family in America with 4 kids, for example? Not much, and how much that can have an impact on the economy? Not much, and this is where the government's gonna, it is my prediction that we're gonna see more printing of money, but at the same time, the more you print, the weaker you make your currency overall. Because now your debt is going far beyond, and other countries is gonna be thinking in terms of, should we tie our investments and our currency to the US dollar?
And what we're seeing is too many places are saying no.
And this is exactly what explains now the move by China and Russia, which this started way back. This is not new. But what's surprising about this is the move by the European Union. So they are moving into that direction of distancing themselves from the US dollar altogether.
There's no doubt this is going to impact you and me. Whether it's today or whether it's in the next couple of years, we're going to see major shifts monetarily because of this kind of deficit spending. What do you see?
Well, I couldn't agree more with your assertion. I mean, I can see it going that direction. What we're going to be dealing with is the consequences of these policies, not next month, not next year, but it will be for the next few years, and with the changes that's taking place geopolitically speaking, with the rise of tensions between the U.S. and Iran now over the nuclear deal, with the China tensions over Taiwan, you can just see where all this is going, that they are like intertwined. So, mind you that the pandemic just made things even worse. On the other hand, you got countries like China that seems to do well, or did well despite the pandemic. So,
well, all the information we have, which seems to be true, is that the Chinese economy is roaring.
Well, it is, and unfortunately that when you say something like this, some individuals do not like to hear that truth, because we in the West do not want to accept the rise of another power, because we've been accustomed to the only superpower is the U.S. Yes, it was at some point, but things have changed. The geopolitical landscape has changed. The economic outlook has changed. And this is where it becomes a reality that we're going to have to come to terms with, is to live with the rising of a new power. In this case, will be China. By no means, China has its own problems that they're going to have to deal with. And they're going to find that, and they're going to find out. They're going to find out that being at the top It's not this hunky-dory. There are some serious commitments that comes with it. And China, it seems to me that it might be after the status, but they don't want to put the work and commit the resources, which they're going to find very challenging. You can't be at the top without committing resources to that. And China's going to find that out sooner or later.
You know, you look at some of the stumbling blocks that are currently occurring with the Belt and Road Initiative. I think they're finding out already.
Yeah, even though that project is moving forward, it is on a path. But yes, they are finding some challenges to that. You know, it is my prediction that the Belt and Road will eventually succeed. But China rather, will have to devote tremendous resources to that.
Oh, tremendous resources.
Yes, it will.
Well, what would you say is the important takeaway from this for those watching us right now, the American people?
Well, it will be for the consumers, you and I and all of us, but also will be for the U.S. corporations, assuming there is a CEO watching this video and so forth. What it will be interesting is to understand where things are going. As the dollar weakens, how that's going to impact the economic outlook for those corporations. With the dollar weakens, how that's going to impact us as consumers. Are we now going to have so much money to buy a product that we used to pay less for? Or are we going to be in a position where we're going to have so much money that is worthless? So it's one of those delicate balance, if you will, for us to see where the trends are going. But so far, when you see an indication like the European Union try to pull away from using the dollar, China and Russia, of course, for some ideological reasons beside the economy, then you got countries like Pakistan and India, and they will be trading in different currencies. Those should be serve as an indication for what lies ahead, and we need to pre-position and prepare ourselves to deal with this outcome.
You know, one of the outcomes of this might be a reprioritization of the American economy.
That will be easier said than done.
Oh boy, do I get that. Yeah. All the power brokers have already spoken.
Exactly. It will be a challenge to navigate that route. So I hope it works out that way, because it will be bad news economically if the U.S. corporations couldn't compete anymore. That would be bad news.
Well, the bottom line here is that things are changing, and this $1.9 trillion bailout incentive package is another contributor to this enormous deficit that we've got going on. So the takeaway is stay informed. Your well-being depends on it. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also be sure to check out our other videos. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
And as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.